Hi, welcome back to Walkman Phones. This is Paul. Today I wanted to show everybody a little something from Samsung's past, the oft forgotten Samsung Galaxy Alpha from the fall of 2014. It's a pretty standard issue phone in terms of, the specs and, what it was running at the time. But the story is more with the design of this phone. Samsung the year before had gotten pretty beat up due to the fact that they released a phone that it wasn't bad, but it seemed like they had given up on their design, and they really hadn't tried to push anything forward for a while. Everybody was starting to go to metal and glass and different materials, and Samsung was stuck with plasticky, not cheap, but just plastic by nature kind of came off cheap to most people. The S5, while being a really good phone, was pretty much slammed for its build quality. It had the dimpled plastic back and the plastic side rails that were imitation aluminum or whatever. It just looked cheaper than it needed to be. It was a flagship phone, and everybody needed to feel like they spent more money on it, or got their money's worth. And other companies were doing that, and Samsung was dragging behind. So enter the fall of 2014, early fall, and Samsung came up with this, which is the Samsung Galaxy Alpha. Sorry, the screen's not going to adjust, but that's not really the important part. That's not why we're here, really. It's just TouchWiz after all. Basically, what they decided to do with this phone, this was a reaction to the rest of the industry and the critics saying that they couldn't make a phone that was premium. So what they did was, on the sides here, you can see they actually went with aluminum, and it wasn't a plastic. And they did like a chamfered edge, and they had these really cool edges at the side of it. It kind of like bumped out, gave you a little bit of protection and added a little bit of design flair to it. And this was a very nice phone to handle. One-handed use, thin phone, but at the same time, completely kind of showing what their new direction was going to be. They incorporated the side rails and this aluminum and the chamfer. They incorporated that into the next note that they did. And the next year following is where they made their biggest departure, and not only did the aluminum side rails, but pretty much made the whole phone glass and did curves everywhere, and did away with this, which is something that most Samsung phones don't do anymore: removable back. So this is like an in-between phone. This was Samsung basically saying, hey, we can do this. For all the people that don't think that we can make a nice looking phone, we can. But as you could see, it's in between. It still had the plastic back to it that was removable. But at the same time, they were really going for a different design and working on changing their design language. And this was the first one out of the gate. And it was a little let down from the processor and the screen. At the time, it was given a lower end Exynos processor from in-house at Samsung. The screen was only 720p, but it was just a nod towards where they were going. It kind of got buried in the mix because of that. Strangely enough, AT&T picked it up, so I decided to get it, because I just thought it was a very strange and interesting phone for AT&T to pick up, considering it wasn't meant to be really mass market or anything like that, but AT&T picked it up anyways. And I ended up really liking it. So I just wanted to show you guys this phone. And I know nowadays, Samsung is known very well for their premium designs and the glass everywhere and the aluminum. But it wasn't always like that. You know, they were one of the first, or one of the last, I should say, to catch up. I believe the last to catch up to all of it was LG. LG finally decided to make glass and aluminum phones, you know, a little bit after this. But Samsung, it was a big deal because Samsung has been the #1 Android maker for years. And at the time, it didn't really line up with what they were doing. They were selling a lot of phones, but they were catching a lot of flack at the same time because people felt they needed to go forward and use better materials and things that justified people spending more money on it. So, well, that's it for this video. I just wanted to show you guys a piece of the past. This phone was great. I really liked it. Like I said, it was let down by the processor and the camera, and you know, the screen was nice. It's an AMOLED screen, but it was only at 720p. It was more of just a indicator of where they wanted to go. So I wanted to show you guys that, and I'll check you in the next video. Okay.